So in this video, I'm riding at Parsons Lake in Collierville, Tennessee. It's a nice flowy trail for the most part, but there's quite a few heavy root patches throughout, which is common for most of the trails here. There's a lot of roots in this area. One thing that is nice about this one though is it's also long. I think it's like 8-9 miles for a full loop.
Hey, how's it going?
And the bike I'm riding here is a Ferrum Bikes NV170 chromoly steel super enduro bike. And the suspension setup that I have on this is a little bit overkill for what you would need for a trail like this. This is a cross-country trail, and I would consider it a cross-country trail anyway. And well, the RockShox ZEB that I got on the front has 190 millimeters of travel, and the rear linkage system that I have on it supports up to 170 millimeters of travel. And on the back, when it comes to the rear suspension, I do have a little bit different setup for the area, and that's a progressive coil shock from MRP. So as someone who primarily uses air shocks, this is only my second experience with a rear coil shock. And what's cool about the MRP Progressive Springs that are available now is they seem to act a lot like like an air shock, in that they steadily increase in resistance rather than just have a linear resistance the whole way through the travel. And what that kind of helps out with is bottom out. Your shock is unlikely to bottom out, assuming you've got the correct spring for the type of bike you're riding and your weight. It's a lot heavier than an air shock, but the MRP Progressive Coil is significantly more responsive over things such as roots and rock gardens than air shocks I've used in the past. Not as comfortable of a ride in that regard, but because it's more responsive and keeps traction over less even terrain, it does help significantly with the control and speed over those types of sections. What I had mentioned about really rooty sections, here's one of said really rooty sections. It is flat, but you can probably see from the way the camera is sounding that it's bouncing quite a bit across this section. Now, when I was previously, I got an all-mountain trek, and then I had a cross-country trail Paro bike that were both using air shocks on the rear, and they were very bouncy, very nearly uncontrollable over this section in particular. it would do okay, but I couldn't maintain speed with those two bikes despite them being lighter. This NV170, currently in the configuration I have it at, it's running about 42 pounds. And with that rear progressive coil spring that I was talking about earlier, you can see that this section, when I picked up Strava, it was showing that I was going between 11 and 14 miles per hour throughout that section of routes, which I was only able to maintain maybe 8 or 9 on my other two bikes that were using air shocks. Tires I'm using on this particular bike, by the way, are Continental bearings. I got a 2.6 in the front and a 2.4 in the rear, and those are 27.5.
Excuse me real quick.
They, despite that section, they probably saw up ahead where I slipped on some leaves. That was not the tire's fault. That was because I just took that turn a little bit too hard with the leaves on the ground, which just slipped out from underneath me. But I haven't really found anything that these tires don't grip to. I've ridden them through mud, wet routes, dry routes. They don't seem to slip much, even on loose terrain. So if you're looking for a good set of all-around tires, Continental bearing project. In the initial configuration that I was using on this bike, I was using a Box 3 Prime 9 group set. That's a 9-speed drivetrain from Box that has an 1150T gear range, much like the 11 and 12 speed drivetrains offered by Shimano and SRAM. Very awesome, very durable group set. So it has a very long cage on it for a 9-speed derailleur, but it was able to take impacts pretty well. And it shifted pretty smoothly. It was a little bit. The shifter was a little bit on the rougher side as it took a little bit more force to push or pull to get it to move, but of course it is on the lower end of Box's group sets. Before this ride, I swapped over to a 10-speed Shimano Freeride group set, and that consists of a Shimano shifter and a Shimano Z derailleur that's been modified with a wolf-toothed goat link with an accepted 11 to 42 set. This configuration, although it can't climb as good as the Box group set, helps adjust to changes in the trail much quicker, primarily due to the Shimano Saint shifter, which is just a beefed up version of the XTR, and as such is capable of 2 upshifts and 4 downshifts in a single lever pull or push. So very fast, very quick acting shifter. And the Shimano Z derailleur complements it nice with the pain retention that those things have. Very good, very fast acting group set. However, I would like to try a Box 1 Prime 9 at some point and see how it compares to this. I don't think you'll be able to shift as fast as the Shimano Freeride, but I expect it to perform similarly. But we'll see whenever they're back in stock and I can buy one.